Rain slams against the glass walls of the Carter and Fields Tower, turning the lights of Midtown Manhattan into a smeared watercolor. Vera Carter steps out of the marble lobby in 4-inch heels, a sharp black suit hugging her frame, umbrella nowhere in sight, because queens do not run from weather or men. Her phone vibrates in her hand. Another message from the board chat. Another line of congratulations on the successful press conference. $1 billion deal. Youngest female managing director in the firm's history. The kind of headline that should feel like victory. A flash of movement cuts across the sidewalk. A delivery bike shoots around the corner, back wheel skidding in the water. For a split second Vera only sees the spray, the roar of the engine, the way the headlight blinds her. She sucks in a sharp breath. The bike screeches to a stop. The rider almost tips over, boots scraping the pavement as he fights for balance. The world narrows to his face. Her chest goes cold. Eli? The name rips out of her before she can stop it. Then a wall slams down in them. Watch where you are going. His tone is flat, edged with ice. Sidewalks are not a runway, Carter. You splashed me. She lifts one leg slightly, looking at the muddy water trailing down her skin. Of course, even rock bottom, you still manage to drag people down with you. Something flashes across his face at the words rock bottom. He drops his gaze for a beat, then straightens and lets out a humorless laugh. Rock bottom. He repeats. That still sounds higher than the place you were 5 years ago, trading your heart for a promotion. In an instant she is back in that dark restaurant, fingers numb, staring at the photo the anonymous sender pushed to her phone. Eli in a tailored suit, leaning in too close to Hannah Hansen, the honey-haired princess of Hansen Holdings. Her hand on his chest, his face turned toward her, blurred but close, too close. She had not asked questions that night. Vera swallows. Her fingers tighten around the leather handle of her briefcase until her knuckles blanch. She forces a laugh, sharp and cold. You are delivering takeout on a rainy night, Eli. She bends, pulls a fold of cash from her clutch, and flicks it at his chest. The bills slap wetly against his jacket before sliding into the puddle at their feet. Here, consider it a tip, since I know how you like being paid. For a long second he does not move. Rain beats down on both of them. The city noise fades to a dull hum, like they are inside a glass box, while everyone else hurries past with umbrellas and blind eyes. Thank you for your generosity, Ms. Carter. His voice is low, almost calm. After all, you are the one who taught me how quickly loyalty can be bought. The sarcasm scrapes along her skin. Some of us learned that lesson the hard way. She shoots back. Back when we still believed words like trust. Instead he looks past her. His gaze lands on Eli first. Disdain curls his lips. Well, well. If it is not the fallen prince. Gray's tone drips with fake pity. I see you finally found a job that fits your skill set. Riding around, bringing other people real food while you chew on your pride. Eli's fingers curl around his helmet. He says nothing, but his shoulders go rigid. Now she just crosses her arms and lifts her chin. Careful, Gray. She says coolly. I heard the last man who mocked a delivery driver ended up with cold fries and a lawsuit. Vera, my dear, you always did have a sharp tongue. His eyes flick to her soaked blouse. Shame about the outfit. Then again, maybe a little dirt will remind you where you started. He enjoys this, she realizes. Not just the jab at Eli, but the way her past and present stand side by side in front of his building, soaked and exposed. Eli finally speaks, voice low. You should go inside, sir. It is starting to pour. I am not worried. Gray tilts his head. Rain washes things away. Stains, footprints, inconvenient witnesses. Before she can decide whether to push, her phone buzzes again. A message from the senior partner. Vera's heart stutters. Of course. She slips the phone into her coat pocket and gives Gray a professional smile. Do not keep your bankers waiting, she says. I will see you in the boardroom soon enough. She does not see the way his gaze follows her to the glass doors. She does not see how his fingers tighten around the wet bills until the paper crumples, or how the muscle in his jaw jumps when Gray claps him on the shoulder in mocking farewell. She thought she buried the girl who believed in forever 5 years ago. And somewhere deep in the rubble, an ember glows. The next morning, Vera is back in full armor. Her hair is perfectly smooth, twisted into a low knot that will not move even if a hurricane hits Midtown. Her navy suit is crisp, her silk blouse pristine, her heels a weapon. The conference room on the 43rd floor hums with tension as executives from Hansen Capital take their seats. Vera stands at the head of the table, hands resting lightly on a thick folder. Around her, Partners from Carter and Fields settle in with tablets and legal pads, murmuring under their breath. Vera. He reaches out like they are old friends. I watched the replay of your press conference last night. Impressive work. She takes his hand because this is business, not therapy. Her smile is sharp. I like results, she says. You know that. Indeed. His gaze flicks over her face, searching for cracks. Let us see if we can create some together. Focus. 2 hours later, tempers are fraying. You are asking for an impossible rate. Gray snaps, tapping the table. You know our position is strong. There is no scenario where we accept those covenants. There is no scenario. Vera replies calmly. Where my firm lends you that amount of money without them. Your debt schedule for the next 5 years is a bonfire waiting for a match. Your model is pessimistic. My model is realistic. She lets the next slide click into place. Projected cash flow. Stress tests. A line in red that drops like a stone when one key assumption changes. Remove just one favorable market condition, and your coverage ratios collapse. I am not in the habit of lighting client money on fire to stroke egos. A muscle twitches in his cheek. He is wrong. When they finally call a break, Gray's smile is brittle. We will review with our counsel. He rises. Do not get too comfortable, Ms. Carter. The market remembers who built empires, and who just cleans up after them. Then the market has a short memory. She closes her folder. You built your empire on sand. I am here to make sure the tide does what it always does. The room empties. Partners drift out to call their own clients. Analysts hurry to freshen decks. Vera reaches for the coffee pot, realizes it is empty, and swallows a curse. A man leans against the far wall, head bent over his phone, wearing a dark jacket and jeans that do not belong on this floor. A messenger bag is slung across his chest. For a split second she registers just silhouette and movement. Her heart stumbles. Of course. Relax. Eli holds up both hands as she stops short. I am not here to run you over this time. Vera's fingers tighten around her empty mug. Security is going to love you, she says. Unauthorized delivery guy on the executive floor. Did you get lost between the lobby and the food court? I am not making a drop-off. I am making a trade. He pulls a folder from his bag and lets it dangle between 2 fingers. On the tab, in neat black ink, are 3 words that make her pulse jump. Every instinct she has screams to grab it. Instead she lifts her chin. You already tried insulting me last night, she says. If you are here to add blackmail to the list, at least be original. I am here because you are going after Hansen. His tone flattens. And because some of us have more than bonus pools riding on it. This is fun, he adds. Pretending you do not know exactly why I care. Her throat goes dry. You burned every reason I had to care, she says. Along with our engagement. It is small, but it is there. Vera forces herself to keep going. If she stops, if she lets the old hurt slow her down, she will drown. What is in the folder? She asks. Internal emails. His jaw ticks. Accounting schedules that do not match public filings. Names of shell companies Hansen uses to move income offshore. Enough to make your risk committee choke. You stole from them? She asks. I collected what I could before they threw my family out on the street. His gaze hardens. They wiped out everything my father built. You think I was just going to walk away? Images flicker through her mind. Eli in his father's office, sleeves rolled up, talking about fair markets and integrity. Eli pacing outside a hospital room when his dad had a heart scare during finals week. Eli, the golden boy, looking terrified at the thought of failure. You expect me to trust documents that would put you in prison if anyone traces the leak back to you? She asks. You already decided what kind of man I am, he says quietly. Why start doubting your judgment now? He pushes the folder into her hands. His fingers brush hers for half a second. It feels like touching a live wire. Use it or do not, he says. But if you are going to chop Hansen down, I want in. On what terms? She asks. I want a seat at the table, he says. Access to the timeline, the structure, the list of assets you are targeting. And when it is over, I want first chance at buying back what they stole from us. It is reckless. It is exactly the kind of leverage that makes careers and destroys them. This is not a revenge movie, she says. I do not run on feelings. Everyone runs on feelings, he replies. Some of us are just honest about which ones. Silence stretches. It is the faint smell of generic laundry detergent clinging to his jacket. It is the shadows under his eyes. It is the memory of the boy who used to blow off parties to help her cram for exams, who once stayed up all night rewriting a code script so she could meet a deadline. Her pulse spikes. Dates, invoice numbers, vendor names that match companies she already flagged as suspicious. The pattern she suspected is here, laid out in black and white. Fine, she says. Fine, he echoes. We explore it. She closes the folder. I will have my internal team verify the data. If it checks out, we move forward under my rules. What rules? You report directly to me, she says. You do not contact anyone else at Carter and Fields. You do not leak a word about our strategy to anyone outside this floor. You do not improvise side stunts that could blow up the deal. His mouth curves. You mean I do not get to ride my bike through Hansen's lobby yelling surprise audit? Try it and I will help security tackle you, she says. I will also personally make sure you never work in finance again, even as a barista in Midtown. He holds out his hand. Partners? He asks. The word tastes like a dare. Do not make me regret this, she says. Too late. He replies softly. We already wasted 5 years. Her breath catches, but she does not let go first. Her heart wants to trace the lines of Eli's face in the margins of her memory. Her brain shoves that aside and calculates. Eli has proof. It became personal. The first hit comes on a Tuesday night. The floor is almost empty. Most of the senior partners have drifted off to dinners and fundraisers, leaving only the glow of desk lamps and the low murmur of printers. Outside, the city pulses in neon and exhaust. She leans over her laptop, eyes burning, scrolling through the internal audit team's first pass on Eli's documents. Line by line, transaction by transaction, the pattern comes into focus. Shell companies tied to trusts in the Cayman Islands. She should feel triumph. Instead, she feels something closer to nausea. These numbers are insane. Mia mutters from the couch, shoes kicked off, blazer draped over the armrest. She has her own laptop open, fingers flying. Gray has been bleeding his own company to fund side projects for years. It is a miracle they have not collapsed already. It is not a miracle, Vera says. It is arrogance. Men like him think gravity does not apply if they smile for enough magazine covers. And Eli? She asks. You are really going to trust a guy who once showed up at my birthday party with a bouquet of gas station flowers and a case of cheap beer? The memory hits like a soft punch. Vera's throat tightens. He also spent that night fixing your ex's disastrous stock picks, she says. You still owe him for not losing your car. Fine. Mia rolls her eyes. I am not saying he is the enemy. I am just saying if he breaks your heart twice, I am burying him under this building. Get in line, she says. Her office phone buzzes. She hits speaker. Yes. Ms. Carter? The night receptionist's voice is tinny. There is a courier at the front desk asking for a signature on a confidential packet from the Hansen legal team. He insists it has to be you. At this hour. Mia sits up straighter. Put him through, Vera says. I will meet him by the private elevator. The corridor is quiet, carpet muffling her steps. As she approaches the side elevator near the back entrance, she sees a man in a navy cap standing near the glass doors, a medium-sized envelope in his hand. Ms. Carter? He asks, voice low. That is me. She reaches for the envelope. I did not expect. His free hand shoots out, catching her wrist. At the same time, something cold and metallic glints near her ribs. She jerks back, but the hallway is narrow, her heels slip on the carpet, and her shoulder hits the wall hard. Do not make a sound. He growls, voice different now, harder, with an accent she cannot place. You walk back to your office. You give me the files on Hansen, or I bleed you out before security can even yawn. Mia on the couch, the audit report on her desk. Adrenaline floods her veins. You are making a mistake, she says, forcing her voice not to shake. There are cameras everywhere. Not in that stairwell. He jerks his chin toward the emergency exit. Move. She weighs options. If she screams, she might die before anyone reaches her. The glass door behind the courier explodes inward with a crash. Eli? She chokes out. He does not look at her. He is all motion. They hit the carpet together. She has never seen him like this. The courier manages to land a punch to Eli's side. Eli sucks in a breath, shifts his weight, and slams the man's hand against the floor until the knife handle skids away. Security. Vera finally finds her voice. She slaps the alarm panel beside the elevator. Sirens begin to wail. 2 security guards come pounding down the hallway seconds later, tasers drawn, faces white. Hands up. One shouts. It is fine, Vera says hoarsely. He just saved me. The guards exchange a glance, then move in to cuff the unconscious man. Call the police, Vera adds. And pull every camera feed from this floor for the last hour. A number with no name. A simple message. Vera gives her statement with steady hands and a voice that only cracks once. Eli hovers in the doorway, left arm hanging oddly. There is blood on his sleeve, a bright line where the knife grazed him in the struggle. You need a hospital, she says. I need to sit down, he replies. She curses and crosses the room in 3 strides, grabbing his good arm. Idiot, she mutters. You could have been killed. You are welcome, he says faintly. I leave you alone for 10 minutes and you start a bar fight in the hallway. Mia says, hands shaking as she snaps on gloves. What is wrong with you people? Hi, Mia. Eli says weakly. Nice to see you too. Vera kneels beside the couch and carefully peels back his torn sleeve. Okay, Mia says, swallowing. That is definitely more than a bandage fix. We should call an ambulance. No hospitals, Eli says sharply. Mia blinks. Excuse me. Vera looks up. When was the last time you had a tetanus shot? She demands. I am fine. He clenches his jaw as she presses gauze to the wound. If we show up at an emergency room with a knife wound tied to an attack on you, Gray will know exactly how much tonight rattled us. He will spin it as a lover's brawl gone wrong, or some nonsense. I am not giving him that. Your ego is bleeding all over my couch. Mia says. My couch. Vera mutters. Your couch is fine. Eli exhales. Call my friend Noah. He is a physician's assistant. He owes me from back when I helped him out of a poker mess. He will stitch this in his living room. You are ridiculous, she says. You were almost stabbed. He replies quietly. Ridiculous is relative. The argument dies on her tongue. What happened to you? She whispers. For a long moment, he does not answer. This, he says, is what got us here. The drive sits there, small and ordinary. Her pulse roars in her ears. What is it? She asks. The rest of the story. He leans his head back against the couch cushion, eyes closing. The night your father called off our engagement, the night you threw the ring at me and walked away, I was meeting with Gray, not for a job, for a deal. Do not, she says, throat thick. Do not rewrite history now. I am not. His eyes open again, and the look in them is raw. I went to him to beg him to back off my family, to stop shorting my dad's company into the ground. I offered him everything I had. He said he wanted the future. The future. His words. Eli's mouth twists. He said he did not want my father. He wanted me, on his side, marrying his daughter, merging our name into his. You did not tell me that, she says. You did not give me the chance, he says. You saw one photo and you were done. She flinches. What is on the drive? She asks. Audio. He closes his eyes again. I recorded our meeting on my phone. Gray bragging. Gray outlining exactly how he was going to push my father into default, then swoop in with predatory financing. Gray explaining that he would feed you the photo, because he wanted to break us before we could combine resources. Her heart stops. You are lying, she whispers. Plug it in, he says. If I am lying, I will walk out of this building, and never bother you again. Mia, who has been hovering by the doorway pretending not to listen, lets out a low curse. Okay, this is officially above my pay grade, she mutters. But if you do not press play in the next 10 seconds, Vera, I will. A folder pops up. She clicks it. Then Gray's voice fills the room. She thinks you are her hero, Eli. That is the problem. Men like you start believing that, and you forget who writes the rules. I am offering you a seat at my table. In exchange, you walk away from the girl and let me finish what I started with your father. Vera grips the edge of her desk. I will not betray her. Eli's younger voice says. You want my family's company, take it from the market, not from my engagement. Gray laughs. You really think she will still want you when I am done? When her father sees the numbers and realizes your father is 1/4 away from collapse, I will send her a picture, just to be sure. You and Hannah at a charity gala. She will break up with you before dessert. And then, when you are bleeding, you will come back and sign here. Static. A scrape. The sound of a chair leg dragging. I will never work for you. Eli snaps. Oh, you will, he says. Because when your company is in bankruptcy court, and your father's heart gives out under the stress, and the girl you love looks at you like you are dirt, you will be desperate enough to sell me whatever is left. The recording ends with a soft click. Vera's lungs forget how to function. Her father's face, tight with anger. Eli, standing in the rain outside her building that night, trying to speak, while she held up the photo like a shield. Every memory shifts, angles changing, colors warping. She had been handed a story and swallowed it whole. She sits down hard on the bench by the window, fingers numb. I did not want you to hear it while everything was still raw, Eli says quietly. Then the company collapsed. My dad had his stroke. You were busy building your career. By the time I could breathe again, you had already decided I was the villain. Why did you not show me this years ago? She chokes out. I tried. His laugh is hollow. Your father blocked my calls. Your assistants hung up on me. Security escorted me out of this building twice. After a while, I told myself the best thing I could do for you was stay away. She turns to him. Images tumble together. Eli at 25, grinning as he held up a cheap takeout coffee and a stack of printouts about their first joint internship. Eli at 26, face pale with fear when his father clutched his chest. Eli at 30, standing in the rain last night, anger hiding something deeper. I misjudged you, she whispers. That is one way to put it. Mia mutters. I threw us away. She says, voice cracking. Because it was easier to hate you than to fight him. A tear slips down her cheek. She does not bother to wipe it away. Eli stares at her like he is not sure whether to reach out or hold very still. I never stopped loving you, he says, so softly she almost misses it under the hum of the city. That is the stupid part, even when you looked through me like I was trash. She slides onto the couch beside him and, before she can overthink it, presses her forehead to his shoulder, careful of his injured arm. Then his good arm comes up, slow and hesitant, wrapping around her back. Mia quietly closes the office door and plants herself outside, jaw set, ready to bite the head off anyone who comes near. When the worst of the storm passes, she pulls back, eyes red, mascara smeared. We are going to destroy him, she says. Now you sound like the woman I fell in love with, he says. Correction. She wipes her cheeks with the back of her hand. We are going to destroy him and rebuild everything he tried to take from you. From us, he says. She nods. From us. The next few weeks pass in a blur that smells like burnt coffee and high stakes. Vera barely sees the inside of her apartment. She keeps a change of clothes in her office, showers in the executive gym, and learns the names of the night cleaning staff because she is always there when they arrive. Eli splits his time between delivery shifts and covert recon. People talk to drivers, he says with a shrug when Mia raises an eyebrow. You have no idea how much gossip rides in the front seat of a car when someone thinks you are invisible. Every time he walks into her office, with a new scrap of information or rumor about Hansen's liquidity crunch, a whispered complaint from a junior trader about bonuses being delayed, a photo of Gray leaving a private meeting with a known short seller, her focus sharpens. At the center is Hansen Capital. Here is the leverage, Vera says one night, tapping a point on the screen. These off-balance sheet vehicles rely on credit lines that can be pulled if certain triggers hit. If we adjust the terms of the refinancing we are negotiating, we can nudge those triggers. In English, Mia says, half asleep under a blanket. In English, Vera repeats. We stop being Hansen's savior and become the storm. We structure the deal so that if he lies one more time on a filing, or if any of these shell companies miss a payment, his entire house of cards falls over. Eli whistles softly. And if he does not lie? He asks. She gives him a look. Gray Hansen does not know how to tell the truth, she says. We just need to make sure that when he inevitably plays his usual games, we are positioned to act before he can spin the narrative. At the same time, Eli reaches out to old employees from Thorn Group, men and women who scattered after the collapse, carrying bruised resumes and stories no one wanted to hear. Some in cheap diners in Queens. Some in quiet conference rooms that Vera books under generic names. Vera listens to every story. This is not just about fixing your family, she tells Eli. He did this to dozens of people, hundreds of families. There are pensions tied to these funds. And now there will be a reckoning, Eli says. It starts with a leak, not from them. Someone notices a mismatch in Hansen Capital's quarterly filing. A footnote that does not line up with the last reported number. A blogger tweets about it. A niche financial forum picks it up. A short seller writes a snarky post. Hansen is too big to fail on a tweet. One commentator says on cable news, smug, he is wrong. She moves a key step in the refinancing negotiations up by 3 weeks, citing concerns voiced by risk management. She demands additional disclosures. When Hansen hedges, she schedules an emergency meeting of the bank's credit committee. This is ridiculous, he snaps, slamming a folder onto the table. We had an agreement, Vera. You cannot just rewrite the rules because some kid with a blog wants attention. We had a term sheet. She corrects, calm. Not a signed deal. And my duty is to my firm and our clients, not your ego. There is no real risk here. He says. You are overreacting. Then you will have no problem providing the underlying documentation we requested. She says. Full exposure of all special purpose vehicles associated with your debt. His nostrils flare. Our vehicles are proprietary. He says. You do not need that level of detail. My committee disagrees. She folds her hands. Without it, we cannot proceed. This is political. He says finally. You want to make a name for yourself, and you decided I am your trophy. She meets his stare. I already have a name. She says. It will not be attached to a default I could have prevented. In the end, he stalls. The delay spooks the market. Short interest rises. Gray goes on television to steady investors, calling the rumors noise, and accusing unnamed parties of market manipulation. He is sweating. Eli says. Only on the inside. Vera replies. For now. Do we push? Mia asks. Not yet. Vera says. We give him room to hang himself first. The noose arrives in the form of a leaked email. Someone sends an anonymous package to a regulatory contact, who forwards it to Vera's firm, because of their role in the refinancing. The email shows Gray authorizing the backdating of revenue to hit a quarterly target. Vera moves fast. She convenes the firm's Special Situations Task Force. She calls a confidential meeting with the regulators. She arranges for key investors in Hansen's debt to attend an off-the-record briefing. Are you sure you want to be the face of this? One senior partner asks her. Gray has friends. He also has victims. She says. I am comfortable with my choice. Eli texts her at 2 a.m. She replies. He sends back a photo of a coffee cup on his kitchen counter. Her fingers hover over the keyboard. We are doing this together. His response is almost instant. The summit hall is a glittering maze of glass and chrome. Gray walks on stage to polite applause, jaw tight, smile stretched. For 20 minutes, it almost works. Phones buzz. A push alert from a major financial news site flashes on tablets all over the room. Regulators investigate accounting practices at Hansen Capital. Just for a second. Ms. Carter? The moderator says quietly, eyes darting between her and the breaking news on his tablet. We understand you have a statement on behalf of your firm. She steps onto the stage. The room quiets. Good morning. She says, voice steady. In light of recent developments, Carter and Fields is suspending all refinancing discussions with Hansen Capital pending the outcome of a regulatory review. Gray's face flushes. This is outrageous. He says into his mic. You are grandstanding. I am protecting my clients. She says. As you know, our due diligence uncovered discrepancies in your reported income and the activities of your off-balance sheet vehicles. We brought those concerns to the appropriate authorities. You are lying. His voice rises. You are trying to destroy my company for your own gain. This is the moment. She could stop at vague statements and let the regulators do the rest. She chooses the second. 5 years ago. She says. Hansen Capital engaged in a series of predatory trades and backroom deals designed to break Thorne Industries and seize its assets at a discount. Many of you in this room profited from those trades. She continues. A whistleblower has provided us with evidence that those actions involved fabricated projections, manipulated conflicts of interest, and what appears to be deliberate sabotage of a competitor for personal gain. A supposed whistleblower. He sneers. Let me guess. Some bitter former heir who lost his silver spoon. Someone who lost his father and his future because you decided one company's collapse was an acceptable price for your bonus. Vera says. Eli stands at the back of the room, hoodie swapped for a borrowed suit, shoulders set. He is not on stage, but people are starting to notice him. We have recordings. Vera says. We have internal emails. We have transaction trails that show money funneled from public entities into your private accounts. You arrogant little girl. He spits. You think you can take me down with a few cherry-picked documents? The board will eat you alive. The board, she replies. Received copies of everything an hour ago. Several people in the front row glance at their phones. And so did the press. Gray lunges toward her, but 2 regulatory agents step onto the stage, badges flashing. Mr. Hansen, one says, voice amplified by the podium mic. We need you to come with us. This is a witch hunt. He shouts. His security detail looks uncertain. Investors whisper to each other. Somewhere in the back, someone starts to clap. Scattered at first, then growing, a ripple of applause that turns into a wave. She stands very still and meets Gray's eyes as the agents escort him off stage. Not fear of handcuffs, but fear of exposure. Fear of losing the narrative he has controlled for decades. The moderator clears his throat. Well, he says weakly. That concludes our scheduled keynote. We will take a short break. Vera steps away from the podium, adrenaline crashing. Her hands shake as she removes the mic clip from her jacket. She feels a presence at her side. He does not say anything at first. He just looks at her, eyes bright, as if he is seeing the girl who once argued with professors and won, not the woman who has spent 5 years hiding behind an office door. You did it, he says finally. We did it, she corrects. He laces his fingers through hers without hesitation. The fallen heir and the queen of the deal floor, standing side by side in the wreckage of the man who tried to break them. This time, she will make sure it is one they write together. The fallout comes fast. Within days, regulators announce a formal investigation into Hansen Capital. More whistleblowers step forward, emboldened by Vera's public stand. Old rumors resurface with new teeth. Lawsuits pile up like snowdrifts. Bondholders panic. The board of directors, suddenly more afraid of prison than of Gray's temper, votes to suspend him and cooperate with authorities. Emergency meetings are held. Restructuring firms swarm. Not everyone listens. In the chaos, another story quietly begins. A group of former executives, backed by a mysterious investor, files a petition to reclaim key assets that were sold off under questionable circumstances during the forced restructuring 5 years ago. Is this you? Mia asks Eli one morning, waving her tablet as she leans on Vera's doorframe. Eli sits at the small round table in the corner, laptop open, sleeves rolled up. His forearm bears a thin white line, where the knife cut his healing, stitches removed by Noah, in a tiny apartment, with a worn couch, and a dog that tried to lick Eli's face through the whole procedure. Thorn Legacy pushes back. Partly. He says. I found some people who still believe the name means something. You found them. Mia snorts. And Vera convinced them. Do not pretend you are not a team. He does not. The mysterious investor is a private equity fund that owes Vera a favor from a deal she rescued 2 years ago. She was the one who suggested they look at the broken assets Gray left behind, the pieces of Thorn that still had good bones. A partnership. It is your name on the paperwork. He had protested. It was your father's name on the factory walls. Vera replied. This is where it belongs. Not as an adversary. She sits beside Eli at a long conference table as the private equity fund presents its case to the committee overseeing Hansen's restructuring. We are not asking for a handout, she says, voice firm. We are asking for a review of sale processes that were manipulated and rushed. If those deals are unwound, we are prepared to put fresh capital into these assets, keep workers employed, and stabilize an entire regional supply chain. You are an investment banker, one says. Why do you care what happens to these factories? Because I grew up watching my mother balance 3 jobs after a plant closure in our town, she says. Because I am tired of seeing men like Gray walk away richer while communities crumble, and because I am damn good at turning distressed assets into something that actually works. Eli stares at her like he has never seen her before, even though he knows her better than most people in the room. Board member 3 on the left is about to cave. He whispers as they step outside during a break. How can you tell? She murmurs back. She has asked the same question 3 different ways. He says. People only do that when they are looking for reasons to say yes instead of no. She bumps his shoulder lightly. When did you get so sharp? She asks. I have been paying attention. He says. You are not the only one who grew some teeth in the last 5 years. Several asset sales are declared tainted by conflict of interest and bad faith. The deals are unwound. The private equity fund, with Eli as a visible partner, acquires them at a fair price with clear conditions. From Vera stands with Eli on the sidewalk outside the factory that once bore his family's logo, now being repainted in fresh colors. This is surreal, he says quietly. You fought for it, she says. You earned it. He looks at her, gaze softening. We earned it, he says. You did not have to go this far for my family. I am not doing it for your family, she says, then pauses. Okay, I am. A little. But I am also doing it because Gray treated people like numbers on a spreadsheet. I am tired of watching that get rewarded. He takes a step closer. So this is justice? He asks. Justice adjacent, she says. True justice would involve time travel, and me punching him in the face at that charity gala. You punching someone in a ball gown is a mental image I did not know I needed, he says. She arches a brow. Careful, she says. I still have the arm strength to swing that briefcase at your head if you act up. The wind tugs at her hair. He reaches up, without thinking, and tucks a strand behind her ear. 5 years of distance, of hurt and pride and silence, narrow to the space between their mouths. A car horn blares. Mia leans out of the car window, grinning so wide it looks painful. Hate to interrupt the slow-motion reunion kiss. She calls. But we are late for your victory party, and I am not missing free champagne. Eli steps back, cheeks faintly flushed. Rain check. He murmurs. Do not make me wait 5 more years. She says. The victory party is lavish, because that is how investors apologize to themselves for ever doubting their own decisions. Vera wears a black dress that fits like it was made for her and heels that could kill a man, if needed. They make their rounds. Journalists circle, hungry for quotes. Ms. Carter, did you anticipate this level of fallout when you took on Hansen? One reporter asks. I anticipated that the truth would be uncomfortable, she says. I did not anticipate how many people would be relieved to see it on the record. What about your relationship with Mr. Thorne? Another presses, eyes gleaming. Some say this was personal. It is always personal when people's livelihoods are on the line. She replies smoothly. You are impossible. He mutters as they step away. You love it, she says. I do, he admits. Later in the evening, a cluster of old money types from her own firm corner her near the bar. So, one guy in a too-tight tux says, swirling his whiskey. You finally bagged yourself a billionaire, Carter. Maybe now you can relax and stop acting like you have something to prove. I am glad you mentioned proof, she says. Would you like to see the list of deals I closed in the last 5 years, or just the ones that outperformed your entire book? His smile falters. Another man chuckles. Come on, we are just teasing, he says. No need to get all feminist warrior queen on us. Funny, she says. I thought I was just being factual. Everything okay? He asks. Perfect, she says. One of the men eyes Eli, lips curling. Nice rebound, Thorne, he says. From broke delivery guy to king again. Must be nice, having someone like Vera drag you up. Before he can respond, Vera steps between them. You are right about one thing, she says. It is nice. See, one says. She admits it. You are her charity project. Vera sets her glass down. Let me make something very clear, she says, voice cutting through the music. Eli did not ride my coattails. He brought evidence I could not get on my own, risked his life to protect me from an attack your friend Gray probably arranged, and spent 5 years rebuilding himself from nothing while you were busy polishing your cufflinks. She keeps going. And even if he had started at 0, she says, that would not make him less than you. Money is not character. Anyone who knows Eli knows which one he has in excess. No need to get sentimental, Carter, he says. We are just having fun. I am not, she says. I am setting a boundary. You want to joke about me? Fine. I can handle it. You come for him again, and the next time you need my team on a deal, you can find another queen to clean up your mess. The silence that follows is chilly. One by one, the men mutter something and drift away. You did not have to do that, he says. Yes, she says simply. I did. Vera. She turns to face him fully. For once, there is none. I am not ashamed of where you were, she says. Or where you are now. And if anyone tries to reduce you to a line in your bank account, they will have to go through me. In that case, he says hoarsely, I should probably start working on being worthy of the woman who just declared war on half of Wall Street for me. You already are, she says. The words hang between them, heavier than any I love you they said when they were younger, lighter than the guilt that used to clog her chest. Dance with me, he says. She hesitates. I do not dance at work events, she says. I network. Tonight, he replies, offering his hand. You are allowed to do both. They move to the edge of the makeshift dance floor. He pulls her close, one hand on her waist, the other holding hers. The world narrows to the warmth of his palm, and the steady rhythm under her cheek. This feels like cheating, she murmurs. On my to-do list. Your to-do list needs better taste, he says. For the first time in a very long time, Vera lets herself imagine a future that is not just quarterly targets and promotion ladders. A future with boardrooms and rose gardens. With a man who has seen her at her most ruthless and still looks at her like she hung the stars over the Hudson. The city spreads below them, glittering and alive. One more thing. He says. Please tell me you are not about to suggest we jump. She says. Not tonight. He says. I just wanted to say thank you. For believing in me. For fighting for my family. For giving us a second chance. She steps closer, fingers resting on his lapel. We both earned this. She says. Together. Is this where I finally collect on that rain check? He asks. Shut up and kiss me. She says. He does. Just heat and salt, and the quiet click of something falling back into place where it always belonged. 1 year later, the rain comes again. Not a violent storm like the night they crashed back into each other's orbit, but a soft, steady drizzle that turns the city lights into halos and makes everything smell clean. The woman looking back wears a white dress, simple but impeccable, cut to move when she moves. Her hair falls in loose waves around her shoulders. Her makeup is softer than her usual battle mask, but her eyes are still sharp. You look like a magazine cover. Mia says. A terrifying, gorgeous, I run the world, and will eat you for breakfast magazine cover, but still. Good. Vera says. I would hate to give anyone the impression I am normal. Mia snorts. As if that was ever a risk. She says. You sure about this? She asks. Vera meets her gaze in the mirror. I have never been more sure of anything. She says. Then let us go ruin everyone else's standards. She says. They ride in a car that is not a stretch limo, because Vera refused to be trapped in a rolling fishbowl. Instead, it is a sleek black sedan with decent legroom, and a driver who has been briefed on exactly how many paparazzi he is allowed to accidentally block. It is a place Eli chose. Thorne Manor, the old family estate that once felt like a museum and now, after months of renovation, feels like a home. Roses climb stone arches. Lanterns hang from trees, casting warm pools of light. A string quartet plays under a white tent, notes floating through the misty air. Roses and rain. He wears a dark suit, tie straight, hair tamed better than usual. But he still has that one rebellious lock that falls across his forehead when he laughs. For a moment, everything else fades. The partners from her firm. The old employees from Thorne Group. The family members who survived the explosion Gray set off and learned to rebuild. It is just him. His eyes shine. You are early. He says when she reaches him, voice hoarse. You are late. She says, because some habits are too deeply ingrained to break. The officiant clears his throat gently, and the ceremony begins. They have spent enough time dragging arguments through boardrooms and courtrooms. Today, they want something simple. Presents. A reset. I, Eli James Thorne. He says, voice steady. Take you, Vera Elise Carter, to be my partner in all things. I promise to fight by your side, to build with you, to shut up when you are right, which will be often, and to never again let anyone else write our story for us. Vera's throat tightens. I, Vera Elise Carter. She says, words clear even as her eyes sting. Take you, Eli James Thorne, to be my partner in all things. I promise to challenge you, to back you, to remind you to sleep when you forget you are human, and to never again walk away without hearing you out, even when I am sure you are wrong. That seems unfairly specific. He murmurs. Get used to it. She murmurs back. The officiant smiles. By the power vested in me by the state of New York. He says. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss. He pulls her in and kisses her like they are alone in a cheap apartment, like there are no cameras, no witnesses, no ghosts. In the front row, Vera's mother weeps into a borrowed handkerchief. Eli's mother squeezes her hand. Mia hollers something about finally getting her weekend back now that Vera's schedule might include the concept of off days. Later, under the tent, the reception hums with laughter and clinking glasses. Some are beautiful. Mia taps her fork against her glass and stands, eyes bright. I met Vera in an internship where we were both convinced caffeine was a food group. She says. Even back then, she scared senior partners and made terrible coffee. I watched her climb. I watched her choose work over sleep over feelings, and I watched her pretend she did not miss the boy who brought her cheap jewelry, and believed she could run the world. Vera groans. Sit down. She mutters. No. Mia says. You get one wedding, I get one speech. Then this idiot crashed back into her life on a bike, soaked her in rain and unresolved issues, almost got himself arrested, and proceeded to help her take down a monster. Some guests laugh. Mia raises her glass. To Vera and Eli. She says, "May you always choose each other over your pride, and may any enemies you make be rich enough to make the revenge worth it." Vera raises her own glass, cheeks flushed. "You realize she just cursed us into a lifetime of high-profile feuds." He whispers, "As long as we win them." She whispers back, "I am fine with that." Much later, when the older relatives have gone home, and the DJ has swapped string quartets for songs that make the younger guests crowd the dance floor, Vera and Eli slip away. He leads her down a side path, away from the lanterns, to a smaller clearing. It overlooks the city in the distance, skyscrapers glowing against the night. "This is where my father used to bring me to talk about the future," he says quietly. He would point at the skyline and tell me that success was not about owning more buildings than the next guy. It was about knowing when to fight for something, and when to let it go. "He would be proud of you," she says. "I hope so," he replies. He turns to her, expression soft, serious. "I have one more promise," he says. "Not for the officiant. For you. Is this where you swear to always bring me coffee before 9 a.m.? She asks. "Already implied," he says. "No, this is bigger." He takes both her hands in his. "I promise," he says, "that no matter how many deals we close, no matter how many times we go to war in those boardrooms, I will never treat us like a transaction. We are not something to be negotiated. We are the constant. I promise," she says in return, "that no matter how many promotions or titles they throw at me, I will never use work as an excuse to shut you out. You get a say. You get my time. You get all the parts of me I used to think I had to hide to survive up there." He smiles. "Even the part that cries at insurance commercials?" he asks. "Especially that part," she says. "You know," he murmurs, "if someone had told me 5 years ago that I would be standing here with you again, with my name back on a building and you agreeing to share closet space, I would have told them to lay off the fantasy novels." She laughs. "To be fair," she says, "if someone had told me I would marry a man who once tracked mud into my apartment and tried to wipe it with my favorite cardigan, I would have questioned my sanity too." "That cardigan was ugly," he says. "It was sentimental," she says. "It had holes," he says. "It was vintage," she says. The rain picks up, a fine mist that bejewels her hair and speckles his suit. "We should go back inside," she says eventually. "People will start wondering where the bride and groom went." "Let them wonder," he says. "They will assume we are doing newlywed things." Her cheeks heat. "Technically," she says, "we are." "True." They walk back toward the lights, fingers interlaced. A year ago, she walked out of a glass tower in the rain and threw money at the man she thought had betrayed her. The embers that survived the collapse of her old life did not just reignite. They lit a new path.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.